We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino, and I guess I left, my right, I don't know, because it's reversed for you. I guess on your right, my left, whatever it may be. Former Saints wide receiver Terrence Copper. T-Cop, what's happening, man?
Blake, what's going on, man?
Not much. It's a busy week in sports. I know this is a Saints show, but NCAA baseball is going on. The LSU Tigers lost, but your ECU Pirates and the Fighting Cliff Godwins.
Let's go.
Supers. I see Cliff Godwin. Did you know, though, TC, he is a former LSU assistant. So technically, he learned everything from the Bayou. But nevertheless, the ECU Pirates are on their way to the Supers.
I'm telling you, and we hosting it right here in Greenville.
Huge for Greenville.
Huge. Look, Texas rolling in here next week. Well, this week they're rolling in on Friday.
I gotta be all right. So listen. I love the people from the state of Texas. I love them. Great people, whatever. I pray to sweet baby Jesus. if Jesus were 6 pounds, 8 ounces, and wore a tuxedo T-shirt and was in the front row of a Leonard Skinner concert, please God, beat the hell out of Texas.
That's one of my favorite shows.
I mean, the only good thing that I can remember that comes out of Texas, it's not the Cowboys, because I know you played for them, but I have a little hatred for the Cowboys. The only good thing is Walker, Texas Ranger. My grandfather watched Walker, Texas Ranger, and so Trevette was my favorite, believe it or not, in the eyes of a Ranger. Y'all got to beat him, TC. You got to beat him.
Yeah, we should beat him. Hopefully we beat him. I ain't gonna say we should, but hopefully we beat him.
Well, look, this is a Saints podcast, so we got to talk about the Saints. Nevertheless, TC's joining us. TC, let's do this. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about tonight. Mike Thomas returns to practice, which was a little bit of my question to you last week. How big of it is it really that guys miss OTAs, veterans, and you talked about, well, you want to be there. And Mike Thomas was there in essence. I mean, he was at the facility, but he returns to practice today. What do you think as a former NFL wide receiver? What does it really mean for the Saints that he's back? And Ndamukong Suh, a lot of people either love him or hate him, but nevertheless, I think you need some help in the interior. David Onyemata's gone. So do you sign Ndamukong Suh? We'll talk about that. And then we'll go story time with TC. So I don't know if this is a plan, but it sounds like a good one to me.
I love it, man. Let's roll.
Okay. Well, let's do this. Everybody hit the like and share. Share your Facebook groups. So many of you joining us here on Facebook. Do us a favor. Hit the like button. Launching the new Saints podcast here on the live stream on Believe with our good partners over at Believe Podcast. Everybody, follow it. Tell your mama. Tell your daddy. I know you ate red beans yesterday and all that kind of stuff, so you got to hit the like and share Facebook groups, subscribe to YouTube, and all that good stuff. Let's pay some bills very quickly with our good partners over at BetOnline and our good friends over at XM Radio. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Terrence Copper's about to tell you why Mike Thomas being back is a humongous deal. Our partners over at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's easy to get started, so head on over to their website. Use betonline.ag. Use that promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV. That's BLEAV to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag. Betonline.ag. All right, so listen. I want to ask you this. I want your opinion, TC.
Okay.
I think that something was going on with Mike Thomas and Sean Payton. I from the outside looking in, okay, and I know this is a really fast way to hit you with it, but I can't stop thinking about it. We haven't talked about this because I've been waiting for this since episode 1. I feel like Mike Thomas is getting a horrible rap. I think
Mhm.
Mike Thomas was asked to play for Drew Brees in one last hurrah to make it to the Super Bowl, and Sean Payton made him out to be the villain. Now, I could be dead wrong. But the man's had 2 surgeries, and he's been in rehab for over a year and a half. As
Mhm.
someone who tore their ACL twice, I would rather do bear crawls and punishment runs before I have to do any type of rehab on any lower body, anything on my lower body. I would
Mhm.
do anything from the waist up.
Right.
Okay, shoulder, hands, back, and I mean, back's horrible, but when
Mhm.
it's on your lower body, it is hell on you.
Mhm.
Mike Thomas is back, focused, locked, ready, and ready to go. Locked, crocked, and ready to go. Man, what do you make of all this with Mike Thomas?
You know what? What kind of had me confused or had my flags go up was when he did have his surgery. How late that he had his surgery. Because he had his surgery. It was late in the game when he had it. Usually after the season's over, right? As soon as the season's over with, you have a surgery or something like that. But he didn't have his surgery until it was almost training camp again. What I want to say is like the summertime, maybe.
Yeah, he pulled a Scottie Pippen.
Exactly.
I'm gonna have surgery on your time, not my
Mhm.
time.
Exactly. So that's when my antennas went up because usually that don't happen. So I don't really know everything that's going on, but I knew something was going on. The fact that he had surgery so late before the season was coming up. So that's why I was like, yo, something's going on. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm just glad he's back. I'm glad he's focused and he's ready to roll.
How often do you talk to your head coaches in the NFL in the offseason?
Not at all.
Okay. Position coaches, any trainers, anybody in the offseason?
You might talk to some trainers if you have something going on, like if during the off season, if I sprain an ankle or something like that during the off season with me training, or I might be out hooping or something like that, and I sprain an ankle or pull a hamstring, I might call the trainers, ask the trainer, okay, what I need to do, what you recommend. Is there somebody in this area you recommend me to go to see the rehab? But usually you don't talk to your coaches during the off. When I say the off season, I'm talking about the off season when you're home, not OTAs and that type of off season.
Right. Like
Right.
I'm talking about March, April, May, June, or the early, like when you're not in OTAs. I'm talking
Not yet.
about like
Just
right.
when you're home, the season's over with, and you're home just relaxing. No, you don't talk to. You usually don't talk to your coaches because at the end of the day, you're trying to get away from football. This is your time to get a break from it. So you don't really have a lot of conversations with your head coach or your position coach because they try to do the exact same thing. The football season is a grind from whenever they start up, April till January if you don't make the playoffs. It is a grind, not just for the players, but for the coaching staff. So once the season is over with, everybody they're gone. They're trying to go on vacation. They're trying to relax. They're trying to unwind and get their mind right and get their bodies back right for the upcoming year, for the off season. So it's not a lot of communicating with coaches unless you're a free agent and they're trying to get you to come in for a workout or something like that. But if you're already on the team, there's not a lot of conversation with the coaches during the off season when you're home.
So I don't want to ask you the tough question of who's right and who's wrong here. I think
Mhm.
both parties have a little bit to blame, but you have $100 million wide receiver. You would think if he's not showing up, the coach's staff would. I mean, here's my only thing. You know that he's hurt. You know that he's not talking to trainers.
Mhm.
I don't know if this is on Mickey. I don't know if this is on Jeff. I don't know if this is on Gail. I don't know if this is on Sean. I don't know what I don't know. What
Mhm.
I do know is Sean Payton was the president of the Saints when he was there, and clearly there was a disconnect with Mike Thomas somewhere. So, look, I mean, we just renewed our Saints season tickets. I know that you're going to get me on the sideline, and you and Gil are going to drink Mai Tais and watch us beat down the Falcons and all that this season. But nevertheless, I know. Look, there's one thing that there's 3 things I know: offensive line play, a good
Mhm.
thin crust pizza when I have it, and body
Mhm.
language.
Okay.
When Sean Payton talked to Mike Thomas, and I saw with my own eyes, it looked like they hated each other. Like,
Mm.
and so I don't know if I come in here with you to conspiracy theories, but basically I'm bringing the fan rumor to the actual player.
Mm-hmm.
What is actually going on? Something's got to be up. Now, look, here's what I'll say, and maybe you can allude to this. I don't know if you ever had ankle or foot surgery or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it takes longer.
Yeah.
Now, like I'll give an example, TC. I pulled my MCL. I think I pulled it. Yeah, pulled it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, rehab. They were like, rehab. Well, nothing worked. You know, like I go the whole off season and nothing works.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to go in there and you got to clean it up. You got to tighten things up and everything's got to be good to go, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't know if that's what happened with Mike Thomas, but the lack of, you know what's the number one problem with the relationships and married people? The lack
communication. There we go.
Look, like I tell my wife, baby, I can't read your mind. Now I know what she wants. You know, I've been with her long enough, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, it's the lack of communication. But he's here now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to tell you something. We talked about Tyrann Mathieu a couple weeks ago. We talked about Jarvis Landry. We talked about Demario Davis and the leadership that they bring. They calling some dudes out now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, bro, you know, like it's something, TC. And I would ask you this: I'm assuming later in your playing career, you wanted a Super Bowl really badly.
Right.
I would assume.
Right.
I would assume Tyrann, Demario Davis. Demario Davis isn't a spring chicken anymore. Probably the best linebacker in the league, but
Mm-hmm.
these guys want to win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And the locked-in Mike Thomas is the biggest offseason move that the Saints could ever have. Having the top two wide receiver back on your team is the biggest thing that can happen for you all offseason. Agree or disagree?
Oh, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And him being out to practice, because there's one thing where, because he's a leader in that locker room. He's a lead, especially in that receiver room. He's a leader, you know, and you respect him as a leader. But there's one thing when your leader is not playing. You know, he haven't played. He didn't play last year. He's on the sideline, or he's just, I can say just chilling, but he's not playing. So there's one thing when your leader's not playing and he's leading from the sideline. And there's another thing when your leader is out there and he's in those trenches with you and he's out there grinding with you, he's practicing with you, you know, that's another type of leadership as well, because now you kind of, don't get me wrong, you're never going to disrespect your leaders on the team, but it comes off differently when they out there in the trenches with you and they grinding with you. You know, it just, the words that they tell you, it means more when they're out there with you grinding compared to, you know, they're in a training room and they're trying to coach you up. You're going to listen to him because he's still got good information that you can get coached up by, but it's a different feel when he out there grinding with you. You know, you take it more to heart.
I'll never forget. I'm not going to say the player, and I'm not going to say if it was high school or college, because I don't want to call this person out if they're listening.
Mm-hmm.
We had a dual sport athlete, okay, when I was playing football, and TC, I was busting my ass all off season. Like, you know, man, like you don't, and people don't realize this. Okay, you got to bust your ass, or you'll get your ass busted.
Right.
Okay, in the off season, like that, people don't realize the work it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, well, you only got to train for 2 hours a day. No, dog, it don't work like that.
Right.
And I think that you hit the nail on the head when you say it's different when somebody's on the field with you, training, running, going through. TC, in Louisiana, it's 102 degrees, bro. I turn on my vehicle today, and the radar thing says 107. Okay, that's what my car is when I pop in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it gets hot down here in the boot. So I say that to say this. A dual sport athlete comes in after baseball season's over and starts trying to talk all this noise and talk all this crap, try to lead. Now, I don't have a problem with you leading, but you better come in here and lead by example first before you start yapping and you start talking that stuff, because, dog, with all due respect, when we put these pads on, I'm going to knock your ass out. And excuse my language, but it's just the truth.
Right.
The best thing for this team, whether if he's going 1 rep or 1,000 reps, is Mike Thomas being out there with a helmet on and a jersey on, because it's just the thought process of, hey, man, Mike might be really hurting, okay, but at least he's out here giving us the business. And with all due respect, I respect Mike Thomas. Let me tell you this. I respect Mike Thomas more now with what he was going through and Jameis meeting him at his house to get him here versus him not showing up. TC, I counted this today, and let me look at my notes. This is from Ian Rappaport of NFL.com. We all know who Rappaport is at this point.
Yep.
17 guys didn't show up from mandatory training camp today. 17 across the league.
Okay.
Mike Thomas could have been one of those guys, but he wasn't. And for that, I know that these guys and you and guys in the NFL get paid a lot of money, but your mental, your physical, it means a lot though.
It does. And the fact that he's back out there, he needs to be back out there for himself anyway. If you put the team to the side for a second, he didn't play last year. He was on the couch rehabbing, whatever he was doing. He needs to get back out on the field because you can, at the end of the day, you can work out and you can do conditioning all you want. You can do agility and speed and agility drills to get back. But there's nothing like being out there and playing football, because there's certain movements in the game of football when you're out there with live bullets coming at you or practicing full speed that you can't simulate when you're training.
Right.
So he need those movements. He needs to see how that ankle's going to hold up when he got to make a movement that he doesn't know he have to until he does. So all of these things comes into play. That's why for himself, just personally, forget the team, just for himself, he needed to be back out there and get used to those movements again.
Hey, did you have? I mean, I'm assuming you're a wide receiver. I mean, this happens very often at your position. Did you have a lower body injury during your playing career?
I did. I tore my MCL, not to the point where I had to have surgery, but it healed back on its own. I tore my MCL.
Okay, so I mean, and I would assume so. Me and you probably in the same boat here. At least for me, it was a mental warfare. It's a mental game. Okay, I mean, was it the physical was always going to be there. My knee wasn't going to fall off. It was probably better than my knee was probably better constructed by Dr. Andrews than it was. The first time around than it was probably the second time around than the first time around. I think you're right. When you're going up and you're jumping over Tyrann Mathieu or Marcus Lattimore and you got to come down on that ankle to get in bounds, that's a big deal. You got to have the confidence to be able to come down, because you're not going to come down the game if you're scared, bro.
Nope, you won't. You won't. That'll be an incomplete pass. You're not gonna get them toes in, because, like you said, because of the mental part. Mentally, you don't trust that ankle or you don't trust that knee to bring it down. So it'll be incomplete. So you hitting it right on the head. It's the mental part when it comes to healing.
I think it's the biggest thing outside of. I think Tyrann Mathieu is the biggest offseason thing that happened. I think equally or tied or maybe slightly number two is Mike Thomas today. It's a massive story that's going unnoticed. And look, Jameis Winston. Now we're trying to find, and we're not complete on this advanced stats that we've pulled on Jameis Winston. Jameis might be over 85% completion percentage on quick slants. The best quick slant thrower in the league, Mike Thomas. And I don't care if he wants to fight C.J. Gardner-Johnson because he calls him a slant runner. Brother, I mean, look, you're the best. You could be the best receiver in the game. Jerry Rice ran more slants than anybody in the history of the game, and he would separate from you. So what? You run a slant. Take that thing to the house, man. It don't matter. It doesn't matter what CJ's just trying to get in your head, bro. It doesn't matter.
That's it. At the end of the day, somebody got to run the slant. Somebody got to catch it. Somebody got to do it. It might as well be him. But yeah, that's all he's just trying to get in his head. He's just trying to get in his head.
Run that slant for a touchdown, baby. Run that slant for a touchdown. All right, last thing on Michael Thomas that I'd ask you here. Outside of the connection with Jameis, is there anything that and the injury, is there anything else that would benefit him for being out there today? I mean, look, I know the route running and the timing and all that. Do you think maybe the camaraderie is the biggest thing that goes unnoticed in all of this?
Yeah, I'm telling you, just to have your guys, all your guys out there, just to have all the receiving core out there playing together, getting that chemistry with the quarterback, that stuff is huge, man. It's huge, and you can't put a dollar sign on it on the leadership that it brings, seeing him out there. Everybody know how good of a receiver he is. And just the fact that you get a chance to see him out there with the guys, that team camaraderie, with the younger receivers that's playing, he can give some leadership as well while he's out there with them. So it's big that he's back. And like I said, it's not talked about a lot, but it's huge that he's back on the field.
The biggest person that benefits from all of this, Ohio State first-round pick Chris Olave.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
I mean,
I agree.
And look, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, and I don't know if the Saints picked him because of Mike Thomas. I think they think he could play. There's something with those Ohio State guys, though, man. I mean, he's kind of taking him under his wing, and so they've been together everywhere. He's showing them the city, taking them out to eat, paying for it, which is, I think, a big deal for a rookie guy. You don't see that a lot. So I think he's the biggest benefactor in all of this. I want to move to this next topic, though, because a lot of people with David Onyemata not returning and the interior of the Saints defensive line, a lot of people have asked, do you sign Ndamukong Suh? Look, Suh has been known to be a very dirty player at times. I think that's a little bit in his past. He's married with a kid. My wife follows him on TikTok. I think he's a lot more calm and settled down, and it's more focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's winning a Super Bowl. TC, I'd sign him. I don't know if you can make the money right. I mean, look, I don't know if he's I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I think eventually he gets into the Hall of Fame. I think you try to get every ounce of Ndamukong Suh that you can, and he played for your rival last season.
Mm-hmm.
But what is I think you talked about this last week, and you talked about, like, hey man, when another player comes in, it could really mess up a locker room. I'm not saying that Ndamukong Suh is that guy, but man, he's had his past with players. Would you sign him?
Man, I'm signing him right now. I'm signing him right now, and I want his nasty to come with him. Bring your nasty with you. You got to have it.
Sorry, I was trying to interrupt you, but keep going.
So I want him to bring his nasty with him. Of course, I don't want him to get penalties all the time, but push the envelope. You're a D lineman. It ain't nothing nice or sweet or pretty pictures. It ain't nothing in those trenches down there that look like that. So he got to be nasty. You want him to bring that nasty. You got to have it. So yeah, I'm signing him, and bring your nasty because we gonna need it.
Now, I never called him David Onyemata, whether tweeting or talking about him. I called him On Your Mama. David's On Your Mama. Look, the biggest thing that affects guys like Tom Brady is interior rush. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, if there's 55, 60 plays in a game, if you get to him once, that's all you really need. Okay. Mm-hmm. He can get to the quarterback once, whether it be a sack or just pressuring him or getting a hit off on him. And he knows Tom Brady at this point. Mm-hmm. If you can find $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 million to sign him, you do it. Because here's the way I see it, TC. And we have some questions in the chat about Alvin Kamara. We've talked about that at length, all the other shows. We're not going to bring it up here for the current moment. But I think there's a point here. If you can't find a running game within the first 6 to 8 weeks, your defense is going to have to show up like they did last season to even give you a chance to get into the playoff.
Right.
Here's the way that I see it. You have the guys that can rush. You have the guys at linebacker. You obviously have the secondary. TC, what they don't have on this defense and what could be a crutch on them is when a team lines up and tries to run the ball down in their interior, it can be a problem. And that's why I think Ndamukong Suh breaks that mold of, TC, this not only could be, if you sign him, a really good defense, it could easily be the best defense in the league. Okay? So I'm not saying that Ndamukong Suh gets you to a Super Bowl, but on paper, I can make the argument it's the best defense in the league if you do sign him. Mm-hmm. But the interior of that defensive line really worries me. Would that worry you if a team like Tampa in your division, and look, let's be honest, Arthur Smith, I think, is a good play caller for the Atlanta Falcons. Look, he made shit out of gold, quite honestly, last season. And they want to run the football, and that's why they signed a guy like Marcus Mariota that can move in the pocket. Mm-hmm. I worry about that position. I defer to you on that though.
Yeah, I agree with you. Everything you just said, I agree with you. I feel like you got to. I ain't gonna say you have to sign him, but if you can sign him, you need to sign him. And like you say again, I'm real big on leadership and learning the game from the veterans. And if you're a young D lineman, or even if you ain't got to be a young D lineman, but it's so much you can learn from him, and that could prolong your career. Just it. And when I'm saying learning from somebody, it can be the smallest detail of something that he teaches you, and it'll make a world of difference. One small detail he could teach you that can make a world of difference, even when it comes to your hand placement, or just certain things like that, your footwork, or certain techniques that he could teach you. It's little things like that he could teach you. Or when it comes to watching film, keys to pick up when it comes to watching film, because at the end of the day, we all pros, we all professionals, but everybody still don't know how to watch film. They probably can watch film, but they don't know what they're looking at sometimes. They're just watching it.
TC, did you see? I think it's the Pivot podcast with guys like Ryan Clark. Shout out to Ryan Clark, Louisiana guy. I think it was on the Pivot podcast. I could be wrong. Did you see the clip of Aaron Donald talking about breaking down film by
I didn't
chance?
see it. I didn't see it.
Quite honestly, I don't mean this in any wrong way. Okay. And I shouldn't have assumed and made an ass out of myself in assuming this. Listening to Aaron Donald, the best player in the game, talk about breaking down film, you can't pay. Okay. Meaning there's no amount of money for him being the highest paid, which today he was named the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. But there's not a price tag on a guy that when he breaks down film knows that there's going to be a zone blocking scheme to the left or the right, and him teaching a young defensive lineman that. Why did Michael Brockers get paid? Oh, so he had a guy by the name of Aaron Donald next to him, and why he's one of the best run stoppers in the league. And I think for a guy like Shy Tuttle, for example, who we've seen has had flashes, there's something that Ndamukong Suh knows about offensive line, that he's going to be able to teach these young guys. And quite honestly, if it comes from Ndamukong Suh versus Dennis Allen or Ryan Nielsen, it's a completely big difference, because that guy's a Hall of Famer and Dennis Allen right now currently is not. It comes from a different light.
Right. And I'll give you another example of guys that has taken other guys on their wings and their career just kind of taken off. Like I said, this is Saints podcast, but when I was in Kansas City, there's a guy by the name of Tamba Ali.
Yeah.
Tamba Ali. Well, we drafted a guy named Justin. What is Justin last name? Justin Houston. Justin Houston.
Shout out to number 99, Justin Houston.
Exactly. Tamba took him under his wing and showed him the ropes. I'm talking about, and when I'm talking about Tamba, first of all, you got to understand, Tamba Ali is probably one of the hardest working defensive ends that ever played the game. He worked on his craft all the time. Before games, when we out there a couple hours before the game, just warming up, not with our equipment on, we out there in just workout clothes, t-shirts and shorts. Tamba is going through an entire routine, an entire play script. When he come in to put his uniform on, he is drenched like he just got finished getting out of the pool. That's how much he's sweating. So he plays the game and then gets dressed and go back out and play the game.
That's insane. That's insane.
It's crazy, his work ethic. And so when you have guys like Justin Houston that comes in and can get mentored by him, and Justin Houston became $100 million defensive end,
right?
And so that's why it's huge to get these veterans, that's proven veterans that have great work ethics, that come in and to kind of show your younger guys the ropes and how to be a professional, how to go about your business, how to watch film, how to break film down, keys to look at. So it's huge if we could sign him, not even just on, what he can do on the football field, but what he can do for the next guy beside him that's on the team. He can help elevate his career as well.
How to eat.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, you have universities like LSU, Bama, Tennessee, Florida, to A&M that have these nutrition centers. The kid at Southeastern Louisiana doesn't. And instead of going getting too hot and spicy, a large fry and a Diet Coke, okay, you can do something else. And I think that small stuff adds up. Like when you saw J.J. Watt, and I know this is Saints podcast, but it's all relative to what we're talking about with the Saints.
That's
When you
right.
see J.J. Watt going to bed, working out, practice, working out at 8, from 8 to 8:45, shower in bed by 9:15, sleeps from 9:15 to 9:15, because if he doesn't give 12 hours, his body's not going to recover correctly. I mean, hell, Tom Brady's getting drunk, but he's drinking avocado tequila that has 0 calories in it. I mean, first off, shout out to avocado tequila. Don't knock it till you try it. But I'm just saying. We do have some questions firing in here for us. Ant Marshall from the Golden Boot podcast says, #ask the guys. How worried are you about offensive line? Outside of Ramczyk and McCoy, there's questions at the other spots.
You can answer that one.
Yeah, a good question. I think two things could be true at once. Okay. Meaning, guys, you got to get off Andrus Peat. Okay. I understand he's hurt a lot, and you got to be worried about that. There's no taking back from there. He's never played a full season healthy, and I get that. I know that when he whiffs on blocks, it looks really bad. But there's a reason why players and coaches vote him and think that he's a Pro Bowl caliber player, because TC, he is. The problem is you're not getting all 17 games out of him, and you're going to need a backup guard that can play both right and left. I think Cesar Ruiz, we talked about this last week. I think Cesar Ruiz is a center. I don't know what you do with Eric McCoy, but Cesar Ruiz could be the best center, in my opinion, a position that I played for a long time in my life. I think he could be the best center in the league. I fully believe that. And then you got Trevor Penning. I don't know what you're going to get out of him with left tackle. I've never seen him play in the NFL. I don't know that. So a little bit I'm worried, TC. But I think the O-line will be fine. I think Ramczyk, Pro Bowl. I think McCoy can make a Pro Bowl. I think Cesar Ruiz, again, I still see the talent, and I think Andrus Peat's fine. But I think there's a little worry, personally.
I think one thing that can help that offensive line out, and I know it's cliche, but we got to be able to run the ball. That'll help them out tremendously if we can establish a run game and have a good run game this year. That'll help the offensive line out tremendously. But if you don't have a run game and you constantly having to pass set and put these old linemen where D-line can just pin their ears back and just rush the passer, it's going to be a disadvantage. So we got to be able to run the ball.
People don't, and look, I think Ant's right here. He talks about Andrus Peat's health, and I agree with him. I mean, it does worry me. People don't realize, though, TC, at least for me, you can't throw the ball 50 times unless you have to, and your offensive line's not going to eventually break down. Okay.
Right.
Look, when you get in the advanced levels of this game, like where you've been, yes, you want your offensive line to get a push. I'm not saying you don't. But a lot of times these guys aren't going to get a push, okay? Mm-hmm. A lot of times. Now, they may, okay? The good ones do. Zach Martin, Quentin Nelson, both play for Brian Kelly, LSU. Just throwing that out there. And like I say, I'm an LSU fan, LSU podcast, AYS Sports. But either way, those guys make it because they can get a push up front. Mm-hmm. But majority of the other guys, it's pray to God that Aaron Donald messes up and you seal him off. That's what makes good offensive line play, is getting your body. Andrew Whitworth, and because it's Louisiana podcast, Saints podcast, you know why Andrew Whitworth played like 97 years in the league? It's not because he was pushing guys around. It's because he's a big body and he could get in front of you. Mm-hmm. If you can do that, you're going to be a Pro Bowler. I'll never forget, TC, who is the right guard that played with you with the Saints with you guys? Oh, God.
Was it Zach Strief?
No, Strief was the tackle. Wasn't Jari Evans?
Jari Evans, yep. Jari.
Yeah, Jari Evans. I'll never forget this. There was like a little booty boot camp for young men, for young fat offensive linemen, and Jari Evans was there. And he goes, just mirror the fool. And I'll never forget, he had these gold chains on, and he didn't have a mohawk, but I'm like, this guy be Mr. T's brother, bro. Like he had the gold rings, the gold chains, and I'm like, I want to be that when I grow up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, he talked about it. Just mirror the dude. I
Mhm.
mean, people saying other things are foolish on how you're not going to physically dominate Aaron Donald.
Right.
It's just not going to happen because
It's
he's
not
going to
gonna
make you
happen.
look fool.
It's not
We
gonna
got
happen.
another one here from Lonnie. It says hashtag ask us, which free agent running back do you think that we need that is still available? Look, TC, we're going to answer this question until Alvin Kamara's decision's made.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's one out. There's not one back in the league that can make up for what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
None.
I don't even know who's out there.
Me neither. I don't either. I really don't either.
Yeah. So,
No idea.
but like you said, I think it's gonna be by committee until he get back. Because honestly, if it's one running back out there that can do what or replace Kamari, Alvin he's already on the team somewhere. You know, he's already signed on the team somewhere. You know, if it's a guy out there like that, he's already signed. You know, so it got to be by committee.
Well, and I think you can do other things in the passing game to help out your run, flare routes, quick screens, whatever,
Mhm.
quick slants, whatever it is, to extension of the running game.
Shut
But
throw the bubble.
throw a bubble, to do
Mhm.
something, zone read. Can
Mhm.
Jameis get out? Can you run an RPO? Let me ask you this, because I said RPO. There are some RPOs in the NFL, but there really isn't a whole, like outside of Kansas City. Okay, you don't see a lot of teams running a lot of RPO concepts like you see in college football.
Mhm.
Now, ECU, y'all are throwing it all over the place. I mean, I'm pretty sure y'all throw it 96,000 times a game too. But
Mhm.
y'all run a lot of RPO stuff.
Yep.
Why do you think? Because look, football is cyclical. Usually it starts in high school, then it makes its way to college. That's when eventually it makes its way to the NFL. The NFL perfects it. One team perfects it. If you notice, one team in the NFL always is going to perfect
Mhm.
what is the new trend. That was Kansas City with the RPO. Why do you think other teams in the league aren't able to run it as effectively as we've seen the RPO game just become so prevalent in today from high school, college, and some in the NFL?
You know what? I talk about this a lot when it comes to just the offense. Of course, not even RPOs. I understand we're talking about RPOs, but just running the spread the way all these college teams are doing. That's just not the NFL DNA. That's not our DNA. We're gonna give you, put it this way: if you're an NFL team that comes out in the same look like colleges do, just come out in the spread the entire time, you're gonna get ate up because these defensive coordinators are gonna figure you out and they're gonna kill you. So you gotta have multiple looks. You gotta come out in the eye sometimes. You gotta come out in the offset sometimes. You gotta come out in the one back sometimes. Sometimes you might come out in the pistol. So it's so many looks that you're giving these defenses that they gotta prepare for. If you come out in the spread the entire time, guess what? They know what you're coming out in.
Right.
They can game plan that so much easier compared to when somebody come out and that's going to give you multiple looks. Don't get me wrong, we're going to run the spread in the NFL, but that's more of a package that we have. That's not what we do. That's not anything that's our base package. In college, the spread is their base package. They don't even get in the center anymore in college. Which is crazy to me. I know East Carolina don't, put it that way.
No.
So
It's like who's the not San Diego, the Chargers, Justin Herbert. They asked Justin Herbert. I remember God, this is not a paid promotion for HBO Hard Knocks, but he fumbled the snap, and the great Anthony Lynn asked him, "Son, why do you keep fumbling the snap?" He goes, "Coach, I've never taken a snap under center."
that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy, man.
TC, the kid's never taken a snap under center, and it's not his fault,
Nope.
really.
Nope, it's not.
It's not his fault. There's a huge difference from a center exchange. There's a huge difference when a guy's under center and when a guy isn't a gun. I don't know. Listen to me. I don't know why this is. I think it's because of splits and you don't know what someone's doing from under center.
Mhm.
It's easier, as crazy as this is, it's easier to run the football when the quarterback's under center because guys spread out more defensively. You can't be as spread out when someone's under center because a quick 32, 31, whatever you want, 30 draw, whatever it may be, you can't. It's a quick hitter, okay?
Yeah.
And you got to get moving. You can't be spread out.
Mhm.
It's those small little integral things that the NFL does. Tom Brady does it. Look, we see the great every quarterback that is a Pro Bowl quarterback at least 4 or 5 times a game at minimum are going under center.
Yeah.
TC, you got to be able to run the football.
You have to.
And let me ask you this. Kansas City is so good, right? But the problem they have is running the ball. Well, they're out of shotgun 95% of the time. Why do you think they have issues with running the ball? Because Mahomes doesn't get that offensive line doesn't get any relief.
Nope. And another thing that I kind of dislike when it comes to college and the pros is the fact in college they don't really huddle anymore. You know, everybody's running that up tempo, and this is one thing you're missing when you're not huddling. You miss when you go back to that huddle, whether y'all struggling at that point in time, or whether the play you just ran didn't work, or whatever it is. You miss that getting back to the huddle and looking your teammates in the eye, and y'all having that moment of, okay, let's go, we can do it, or whatever it is, whatever the encouraging words that your quarterback gonna say, or your center he's gonna say, let's effing go, let's get ourselves together. It's that piece right there that you miss when you don't huddle, because that is a big piece of that team camaraderie when you can get back to that huddle when y'all struggling and you can look your teammates in the eye and y'all can talk to each other just to get yourself. It ain't got to be a whole paragraph. It can just be a few words that your center may say, or somebody in that huddle may say, just to get your mind back right. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I'll expound on that from my point of view on the offensive side. You know this better than most. Hey, guys, I'm going to give a dummy call at the line. Do not listen to what I'm about to say.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yep.
Peyton Manning, Omaha. We come to find out if he just says Omaha, means hurry up because I'm pissed. Get that son of a bitch and snap it. Excuse my language, but
yeah.
Okay. Guys, I got to make a dummy call because Fletcher Cox is in front of me and he knows what I'm doing. I got to do something to get ahead. Yep. TC, okay, and I agree, and look, I know we kind of went on a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's good to because look, it's all going to be relative to the Saints. Look, you have a quarterback in Jameis that I think does a lot better under center at times from a play action standpoint.
Yep.
So we'll see. All right, let's wrap up this show though. We're going to give a great big shout out to our good friends over at Believe and BetOnline.ag. Guys, use that promo code Believe. That's BLEAV. For your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. It's story time. I need to get a sound, for story time. Like, but I have the spooky, I have the breaking news one, the applause. But we don't have like a story. It's story time, like Blue's Clues even have. Yeah. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from. So now we got TC story time. Where are we going tonight, man? We're going to Kansas City, Dallas. Carolina, New Orleans, where are we going?
So today we're gonna go back to Kansas City, and this story is kind of a sad story.
Oh no, I thought it was gonna be another dildo in a trench coat story.
But it's
hold on, very quick. The best thing was you. The best thing I've ever heard was when you said, and Blake, she was swinging that thing. It was the shoulders that got me. It was the shoulders. But anyway, continue.
So in Kansas City, I'm quite sure everybody, you might not remember it, but it was in 2012. Remember a guy named Javon Belcher? He ended up killing his girlfriend and killing himself.
Oh no, yeah, I remember that. Very sad.
In front of the coaches. So this is like it's a very sad deal. I still think about this sometimes. Even now, I think
Yeah.
about it. And it was so crazy because me, a few other guys on the team, we had just we was just at a concert with his girlfriend that night. That night, we was just at a Trey Songz concert that night, and then we wake up the next day, woke up Saturday morning. Saturday was the day when, so for practice, you just come in, you get to the practice, you get there early. All you got is a walkthrough on Saturday.
Right.
So we get to the facility and the police would not let us in. They would not let us in. And then come to find out, he had an issue. Something went on with him and his girl that night. He ended up killing his girlfriend. And then he goes to the stadium, and goes to the coaches, and he kills himself in front of the coaches, right in the parking lot. That was probably one of the toughest things that I had to deal with. And the reason why it was so tough is because, for one, you're around this guy every day, all day. You got a relationship with him. You know him. And it's not like, oh, we actually had conversations. He was a cool guy. Everybody knew him. He played linebacker, real good guy. But it got so crazy was the fact that my wife was good friends with
Mm.
his girlfriend. So this is the kicker. So when we're home and we're talking about it, I couldn't vent about it. You couldn't talk about it at the house because on my end, of course, in my head, I'm thinking, Javon is selfish for what he did, um, for him doing that to his girl and then taking his own life. I'm thinking to myself, he's selfish for it, upset with him about the whole situation, and then doing it in front of the coaches. So I'm really upset about the situation. Everybody on the team's upset about the situation. But on the other hand of it, he is a brother of ours. And we're not going to see him again. So you still missing him, but you also understand the severity of the situation. So when I'm home, I can't talk about it that much because at the end of the day, yeah, I may be mourning a brother of mine, but my wife is not trying to hear it because in her eyes, he just killed one of her best friends. So it was so much turmoil at the house, you know, in a situation that wasn't even involving us, but inadvertently it was involving us because he was teammates of ours and it was her friend. But it was a situation, man, we couldn't talk about it at the house because we would end up getting in arguments about it, because she couldn't see my point of it, but I saw her point of it, but she couldn't see why I was still trying to, you know, what can I say, mourn over a friend of mine, but not being angry. Now, of course, I was angry at some points, but at some point you're just mourning because you miss him, and you with this guy every day, So that was probably one of the toughest things I had to deal with, not just as an athlete, but just in life, period. And they left behind their daughter, So it was, and he did it in front of his daughter, So it was a tough situation, man, all around. And then I remember the coach was asking the players, we had to vote on it, all the captains, we had to vote on it, if we wanted to play the game on Sunday. So we ended up playing the game on Sunday. I felt like it was more of a stress reliever for us to play that game on Sunday compared to not playing and just kind of sitting there and we're in our feelings. Of course, that was going to happen anyway, but I feel like the best decision we made was to actually play that game on Sunday to kind of get our mind off, things, but you're not gonna get your mind off of it with a situation like that. But it was just a tough situation, man. And, and one thing about it is you have to really appreciate your coaches, especially Coach Rack. Coach Rack, he really, because it was done in front of him as well, So for him to continue to lead that team and, you know, and know what he just experienced, but he never wavered. He never showed any type of, you know, uh, what can I say? He never showed anything that it affected him to the point that it affected the team.
Mm-hmm.
He was that stronghold for us, even though he was going through what he was going through with it. So real big shout out to Coach Rack, but that was probably one of the worst things I've ever been through in my life, dealing with that. So kind of a sad story, but it was a story.
Yeah, and look, I think that, and I don't know if he suffered with it, had it, whatever, but the only thing that I will say is, parents, if you have children that play football, and you think that they have a concussion and they're taking too many head injuries, TC, we played a violent sport, man.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And I know that fighting and MMA, boxing, but man, they're not hitting themselves in the head with a helmet with a guy running full speed like Ray Lewis and hitting you in the head, unfortunately. And I'm not saying one's bigger than the other, whatever.
Yeah.
But you see stories like Junior Seau.
Right.
You see stories that don't escalate to that place, but Vontez Burfict, remember when he knocked out, Antonio Brown? We know that he had multiple concussions in his career already. Julian Edelman, okay? I mean, man, when you're not right, you're not right. And I think I'm not saying he is or isn't. I don't know, but we do, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but no, I hate to use this, but sometimes people try to be over macho, like over, oh, you got to be a man. Well,
yeah.
No, I mean, what's being a man? Talking about it and admitting that you have an issue. So that's, look, and TC, I'm not going to ask you to put yours out there, but I went through a mental break when I was on my second ACL surgery. I mean, man, it's tough, man. When you probably have been in games where you're sore, where you can't move, and your girlfriend or wife has to pick you up out of bed because you're so sore you can't move. Yeah. I mean, those have been stories where, like, I'll take this hit and I'm on the bottom of the pile, and I'm thinking, you know what my thought was always, TC?
What's that?
Damn it, I'm gonna feel this tomorrow.
Yep.
Like, damn it, and I'd be honest, man. I love you wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks, but look, man, you do something stupid, I ain't taking that soreness for your ass no more. And that and look, I mentally broke.
Yeah.
And people are gonna mentally break from all that. But look, I think it's I think that the story that you went through, unfortunately, is a great story. And I think God puts things in your path to be able to teach others and help others.
Right.
So I appreciate that, TC.
But you hit it right on the head, man. If anybody, former athletes or whatever it is, if you need help, get help, because mental illness is real. CTE is real. All these things are real. So if you're dealing with, mental issues, seek help. Like you said, you're not too macho to do those things. Go get it, because I sure enough, if I need it, I'm going to get it.
I don't know if this is because I'm a man or I'm showing signs of CTE, and I know it's not a funny joke, but it's a joke nevertheless. This morning I was trying to go to work and go to do some stuff, and I can't find my keys. Okay. I think this is because I'm a man. They're in my hand.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have been a coach. Every head coach cannot find their keys. Coach, where's my keys? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Every coach coaches are coach. You know that you're a coach when you can't find your keys.
Right.
Anyway, all right, guys. We will be back again probably Thursday or at minimum next Tuesday. But TC, it's been fun, man. Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
All right, go hit that like button, man. Believe in Saints. Go hit the like button. Follow us. That's it, man.
Hey, and maybe we'll be having some people up in here soon. Hey, moving on up in the world.
Yep.
And I'm gonna tag Drew in this. Drew, where you at, bro? I mean, we've been hitting you with the Drake hotline bling. Like, man, come on,
Drew.
Drew,
come on.
We can't talk to you, man. Like, bro, I go to walk-ons, you know, like I'm paying for your kids' college tuition with every hamburger I eat, you know, like, I mean, come on, Drew. Anyway, all right. We'll see you guys again soon. You guys have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.